Courtrooms are nothing new for police officers, but what happens when they are the ones who have to take the stand and are pronounced guilty? Here are 3 different cases of dirty cops reacting to their sentences in court.
Let me just plea and get it over with for everybody. Plea to something that I absolutely do not feel good about, but I don't want you to try to send me to the penitentiary for years and years. If you can sleep with it, I can sleep with it.
This is Todd Pate, former sheriff of Breckenridge County, Kentucky. On March 8, 2019, he was arrested after he ran his car over 4 people. His blood alcohol level was twice the normal value, and he was charged with multiple felony counts. With a possible 15-year sentence in sight, the former sheriff agreed to plead guilty and is in court today for this very purpose.
At this time, is it your desire to change your plea from not guilty to guilty?
Do I have to answer that yes or no, or can I make somewhat of a statement? That
is a yes or no answer, sir.
Will I have the opportunity to say anything further?
If it is your intention to change your plea from not guilty to guilty, then I will take your plea, and certainly you'll have an opportunity to make any statement that you want to make. But if it is not your intent to enter a guilty plea at this time, then I'm going to set your case for jury trial, and you're going to stop wasting my time and everybody else's time this afternoon.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to waste your time.
And is it your intention to enter a guilty plea at this time or not?
No. Why am I wasting your time, ma'am?
What is the Commonwealth position at this time, sir?
The judge is visibly annoyed at Sheriff Pate's sudden 180 and asks the prosecution what they would like to do now. The prosecutor demands that the sheriff's bond be revoked.
Your Honor, we would move to revoke the defendant's bond at this time. We took part in a lengthy mediation. We agreed to continue this case 2 months to enter this plea today. I think we can convenience the entire court system by canceling the pre-trial date and continuing this matter for 2 months for him to resign from office. So we moved to revoke his bond at this time.
All right. Mr. Vowles, would you like some additional opportunity to meet with your client this afternoon before we proceed at this time?
I don't believe it do any harm. I'll make it very, very quick. I know we've already delayed the court, and I'll report back within a couple of minutes.
All right, I'll give you another 10 minutes with him. All right, thank you.
The court meets after a brief recess, but apparently things haven't changed much in Pate's mind. The disgraced sheriff wants to go on a lengthy rant, but the judge is in no mood for such theatrics.
And so at this juncture, so that the record is clear, I have previously been tendered executed documents by Mr. Pate that have been likewise signed by his attorney and by the Commonwealth. It is my understanding that through felony mediation that an agreement was reached, that agreement was subsequently reviewed with the victims in this case as well, and that the purpose for today's hearing was to enter that plea consistent with those executed documents. Perhaps I should have directed my questions first at you instead of Mr. Pate. At this point in time, what is Mr. Pate's decision with respect to proceeding forward with entry of his guilty pleas?
So I believe he's still under oath, and I believe I'll just let him answer that question if it pleases the court.
All right. So, Mr. Pate, what is your position today with respect to entering a guilty plea here, consistent with the executed documents that have been tendered to me?
Can I say a few things, or?
I need to understand what it is that we're doing here today, Mr. Pate.
Yes, I've had every intention of coming in here today and entering a guilty plea based on the mediation that we had. It's very difficult for me to enter a guilty plea to
If I may interject, if you intend not to enter a plea, don't say very much about the case because what you say here under oath will be used against you. I'm not trying to tell you not to say whatever it is you need to say, but also want you to remember that if you don't ultimately plead here, whatever you say, I would think that Mr. Chambers will definitely use against you in any further proceedings. Okay?
Pate is given a final warning by the judge to contemplate entering a guilty plea. It's crucial to highlight that Pate is confronting severe felony charges such as DUI, assault, and fleeing the scene of an accident, far from some minor misdemeanors or petty violations.
You know, it's difficult for me to enter a guilty plea for a lot of reasons, and I don't want this court to think that I am trying to minimize, take away from, or deflect any responsibility that I had in this situation that occurred. This was never an assault first case. Should have never been an assault first case, but it became that, and it became that to push me in a direction to take a plea. I'm willing to take a plea, but I now understand how some people feel. I've defended the court system many, many times and still do, but I feel like I'm being very much bullied into doing something that's not right. Now, the gamble is big.
Sheriff Pate accuses the prosecution of holding a grudge against him and goes on a lengthy diatribe as his counsel holds head in his hands, dismayed at how his client is jeopardizing the plea deal that all parties had agreed to.
But it's hard for me to lay down and plead to felony charges that don't apply.
So I think we are back, Mr. Payton, and probably should have stayed in the place where we started. Again, I wanted to give you an opportunity to have further discussions with your attorney.
And I'm sorry, ma'am, for doing this. I'm sorry for
I think we're back to where we were before. Is it your intention today to enter this guilty plea? And I think we're at a yes or no place at that.
Let me say, can I say one more thing? I think everybody in this room wants this over with. And if I could address Blake, I hope you learn from this case I'm not mad at you. I'm not in any way upset with you.
Mr. Payton,
Not that it matters.
reach that point now.
Okay.
This is either a yes or no. Are you going to enter your plea?
I guess everybody thinks it's funny.
Well, certainly not the people who I think are here with you today.
I know they don't. I've broken everybody's heart. But it's hard for me when I see Mr. Chambers sitting over there smiling. Let me just plea and get it over with for everybody. Plea to something that I absolutely do not feel good about, but I don't want you to try to send me to the penitentiary for years and years. If you can sleep with it, I can sleep with it. And this is probably unusual, but let's do
At this point
it.
in time, I think we're done.
Sheriff Pate finally almost pleads guilty, but now the judge has decided that enough is enough.
At this point in time, I'm going to sustain the Commonwealth's motion to revoke his bond. He's going to be taken into custody today. We will come back for further hearing as to whether or not to go forward with this plea or to set this case for trial.
Pate's attorney makes a last-ditch effort to save his client from going to jail, but the water has passed under the bridge.
Your Honor, if I may speak to Mr. Chambers' motion to revoke the bond.
I've already ruled. I've already ruled at this point in time.
Ma'am.
We're done at this point in time, other than setting this for further hearing.
Sheriff Pate's fall from grace was witnessed by the entire country. He finally pleaded guilty to all felony charges. He had to resign from his office and had to serve 75 days in jail as part of his plea deal.
Would Miss Potter please rise? I'm now going to read your verdicts.
This is Officer Kim Potter of Brooklyn Center Police Department, Minnesota. On April 11th, 2021, 20-year-old Daunte Wright was pulled over for an outstanding misdemeanor warrant against him. During his arrest, Officer Potter mistook her pistol for a taser and fatally shot Daunte. The footage shows what happened on the fateful day Daunte Wright was shot.
No, you're not doing that. No, you just not, bro. Don't do it. Don't do it.
sit down.
Turning north on the residence, can you repeat your first three?
3205, we got shots fired. Start more units, please. We're going to need additional units to Noble and 63rd.
Dante's death sparked national outrage, and soon protests and demonstrations erupted throughout the United States. In the widely televised and broadcast court trial, a sobbing Kim can be seen taking the stand as defense lawyer Earl Gray asks what happened that day.
And by looking at his face at that point in time, what did you interpret it to mean?
He had a look of fear on his face. It's nothing I'd seen before.
Did you say anything when you saw this? What did you do?
We were struggling. We were trying to keep him from driving away. It just went chaotic. And then I remember yelling, "Taser, taser, taser," and nothing happened. And then he told me I shot him.
Can you proceed, or you?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. After the driver said you shot him, do you remember what you said, or do you? If you don't remember, did you look at the video and see what you said, or do you actually remember what you said? I guess is my question. Not with help from a video.
I don't remember what I said.
And what do you remember next, if anything?
They had an ambulance for me, and I don't know why. And then I was at the station. I don't remember a lot of things afterwards.
Do you remember saying something about prison?
No.
After various testimonies, the jurors deliberated for over 27 hours, spread across 4 days, and finally reached a verdict. Judge Regina Chu announces the verdict as a stone-faced Potter listens.
Members of the jury, have you arrived at a verdict? Okay. Will the deputy please retrieve the verdict forms and provide it to me for review? Would Ms. Potter please rise? I'm now going to read your verdicts as it will appear in the permanent court records of Hennepin County. In the matter of State of Minnesota versus Kimberly Potter, court file number 27 CR 21 7490, we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the first degree while committing a misdemeanor on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, State of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And the verdict was agreed to at the hour of 11:40 a.m. and signed by the jury person on 12/23/21. The verdict on count 2 is we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, State of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. and that verdict was agreed to at 10:30 a.m. on 12/21/21. Members of the jury, is this your true and correct verdict? So say you one, and so say you all.
Yes.
Kim Potter was found guilty on 2 counts and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. She was released in April 2023. The killing of Daunte Wright brought into light the fault lines that have always existed in the police training. Police officers should be held against high standards, as seemingly small errors on their part can lead to catastrophic consequences.
Once you saw the barrel of the gun, you decided to pull the trigger and take who was on the other side of that window's life. Yes.
This is Officer Aaron Dean of Fort Worth PD being examined by the prosecution in a murder trial. In the wee hours of October 12, 2019, Officer Dean responded to a non-emergency call. The call was made by the neighbor of 28-year-old pre-medical student Atatiana Jefferson, that Atatiana's house's front door was open. Officer Dean and Officer Darch can be seen responding to the call.
Put your hands up! Show me your hands!
Officer Dean did not wait a second for Atatiana to raise her hands up and shot her in the chest. As Atatiana was in her bedroom with her nephew, she had no way to know who Officer Dean was. For all she knew, he could be a burglar or an intruder, so her reaching out for her gun was well justified.
Well, as I said, I needed to see that person's hands, because the hands carry weapons. The hands are the threat to us. So I looked back after I got my light on, saw the silhouette again, and I was shouting at this time, shouting commands. Put up your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. And as I started to get that second phrase out, show me your hands, I saw a silhouette. I was looking right down the barrel of a gun. And when I saw the barrel of that gun pointed at me, I fired a single shot from my duty weapon. And immediately had the flash from the muzzle reflecting off the window, and of course, as my weapon recoiled, the light was bouncing back in my face, so I couldn't see. When my vision cleared, then I observed the person that we now know as Miss Jefferson. I heard her scream and saw her fall like this. And I knew that I'd shot that person.
The jury reached a verdict after lengthy deliberation. The prosecution premised their case on the fact that Officer Dean fired his weapon even before he saw Atatiana holding the gun, whereas the defense claimed that Officer Dean had shot Atatiana in self-defense.
Everyone may be seated. Good afternoon.
After being pronounced guilty, the jury met again to decide the length of Officer Dean's sentence. The verdict was announced on December 19th, 2022.
Good afternoon. The jury has sent a note or given me notice that they have reached a verdict. Are both sides ready to receive the verdict?
State's ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Judge.
All right. Y'all did fabulous when we did the guilt-innocence verdict, okay? Same rules apply. I don't know what this verdict is. Can't have any emotions, all right? Let's bring them in.
Judge, you're wonderful.
Everyone may be seated. Good afternoon. Juror number one, it's my understanding the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is it a unanimous verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. If you hand it please to Deputy Nicholson. Mr. Dean. Verdict reads, we the jury, having found the defendant Aaron York Dean guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of manslaughter, assess his punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 11 years, 10 months, 12 days. They do not assess a fine. And it is signed by the presiding juror. You may be seated. Thank you very much.
It is frightening to see dirty cops committing grave crimes, and unfortunately, many times these dirty cops also get away with it. These are not one-off instances, as the series of unfortunate events highlights serious lapses in police training protocols. As long as dirty cops keep hiding behind qualified immunity, citizens will continue to feel unsafe around cops. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comment section and don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye!